everybody, welcome to Two Over Comics. My name is Steve.
And I'm Mike.
And we are recording this time.
Yes, yeah, it says it up there. I see it.
This week we're doing our weekly review for comic books. It's Thursday, time to review the books. We didn't do one last week, you'll notice. We skipped one, or maybe you didn't notice. But anyway, we had some technical difficulties, meaning I forgot to hit the record button and didn't feel like recording another episode.
Yeah, so, it was 5 o'clock. We were ready for dinner. It was,
what an episode too. I mean, we were really like there was a nice flow there. We were really on our A game. But it was like the equivalent to leaving the lens cap on the camera.
Yeah.
So it's fucking amateur hour over here, guys.
Yeah. Well, anyway, everything we do, the video game stuff, we'll do better next time.
We'll do better next time. We'll do better this time.
Yeah.
Mike's got the Elgato figured out, and we'll do better this time. So,
yeah. Now my whole new thing is gonna be, how the fuck do I know how to do this fucking streaming stuff? We'll get there.
It's just baby steps, Mike.
Yeah, we're old now.
Life's still in progress for us, and for in these uncertain times.
Let's get that book that says Baby Steps from What About Bob.
Exactly, from Dr. Leonard something. I forget. I can't think of anybody's name. That Bill Murray is the only person I can remember.
Yeah.
And something's right. I remember Leonardo because the doctor's character's first name, and then Dreyfus is the actor's last name. Let's call him Leonardo Dreyfus, the guy from Jaws.
That works, yeah. Yeah. New Hampshire. Bill Murray says that in that.
Before Wayne's World came out, I used to quote that movie so much. Just like in both cases, Bill Murray and Dreyfus are hilarious in that. From what I understand, they hated each other during the filming of that movie. But,
speaking of which, you know where it didn't take place?
Where?
Lake Winnipesaukee.
It did not take place in Winnipesaukee?
No, it did not.
Where did it take place?
Well, I'm sorry, it took place in Winnipesaukee, but it wasn't filmed in Winnipesaukee.
I know that, yeah. The one scene that still resonates right now in my family right now is that I had this pet peeve where I hate listening to people. If anybody eats in front of me, I can't eat. Well, I can eat in front of people, but inside I'm like exploding with rage because I hate the sounds of people eating. I hate looking at people eat, and when they breathe through their nose as they eat, it's like literally just an onslaught. Don't. It's an onslaught of emotions in me when people do it, and so my kids know that, and they do that whole scene that Bill Murray does at the dinner table where he's just like, and they eat the quit, and like they know it's like killing me inside, like they see the rage boiling in my eyes, like. And I
Steve, is this hand chucked?
Oh my God. Anyway, enough about What About Bob. What about comics this week, Mike? We had some pretty good comics come out. I read most of them. There were a couple I didn't have time. I'm a busy guy in these uncertain times, Mike. I'm trying to get all the comics read, but there's only so much a man can do.
It's hard. You got so little time to do it. You got work. You come home. You got kids.
I mean, God Almighty. But you know what? We're going to talk about a few. From what I understand, I think I talked to Mike what he's going to review. I'm reviewing a book, and it seems like Marvel has kind of the monopoly on this week's episode right now. We talk about 3 Marvel books. I'm going to let Mike go first. Go. I'm going to let you, not the big one. Obviously, we'll save for last right now.
Yeah,
that's what we're going to talk about. So the first one, what are you going to talk about, Mike?
So I'm doing. I got it right here because I'm always prepared, except when I take notes. Symbiote Spider-Man #1. King in Black.
Beautiful cover by Greg Land.
Yep. He's also the artist too as well.
He probably traced it from a porn he saw.
Hey, Spider-Man. And that's all right. You know why? Because the biggest thing about these because there's like I think the 3rd or 4th Symbiote Spider-Man series. They're all mini-series by
Peter David.
Peter David. And this is the best Peter David has been in years.
Well, you know why? Because he doesn't have to deal with any crossovers or any of that bullshit that he usually has to when he writes.
And this he kind of has to.
Yeah.
But first and foremost, I don't know if you've been reading these series, the past miniseries, and I'm kind of hoping that this is something that keeps on going on in miniseries or this with Spider-Man. Is that this really feels like 80s Spectacular Spider-Man when I read this.
Well, it takes place in the 80s, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Yep.
Well, I mean, in Marvel Universe time, but
yeah.
It takes place during the 80s when our world 80s during the Spectacular run and kind of the Amazing Spider-Man run too, where before he realized that the symbiote suit, well, the black suit was a symbiote. And I gotta tell you guys, if this didn't have a cover of these miniseries and I just picked it up, I would have thought that this would be like a spectacular Spider-Man run.
Who draws it? Who's the artist on it?
So it's Greg Land, I believe.
I know he does the covers. Does he do the interiors too?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But
80 Spider-Man is my favorite era of Spider-Man.
And I highly recommend, if you haven't read any of these yet, to go back and reread all of them because they've been that great.
I have not, but they're miniseries. I definitely pick them up and binge them.
I highly recommend it. If you're a fan of 80s spectacular and amazing, then this is right for you. That's just me. I really get that, more spectacular Spider-Man feel from the 80s than I do, anything else with this. So
now this issue's King of Black Part 1. It's like a crossover, right? Or
yeah. So basically, it starts off with you have Kang the Conqueror in it. You have is it Kang?
Yeah, well, the cover is the Kang. So
you get the Watcher in it. You got you're gonna have Groot and Rocket in it at the end of this. Well, at the end of this issue. So basically, Alistair Smythe, your favorite.
He is.
He's in Ravencroft, which Ravencroft wasn't really. Well, I'm assuming it was around in the 80s in the Marvel universe, but we really weren't introduced to it until kind of like the 90s.
D'Amati's run, pretty much, yeah.
But it takes place. It starts off. I think the whole thing's going to take place for the most part in Ravencroft. Alistair sleeping, and his dad comes in. I'm assuming it's going to be Null who's talking to him right now. So basically, he's like, he goes to Alistair. He's like, I can give you, the strength to walk again. All you got to do is take this and then release like this. I don't want to say poison, like this mist, so to speak, into the ventilation shaft. And what this does is it turns everyone into a venom symbiote or a symbiote. All the people who work there, the patients and whatnot. And at the same time, Alistair Smythe is calling to get Jameson down there and to bring a reporter. And Jameson's like, I'm not fucking going down there, So he gets Ned Leeds and Peter Parker down to go down there. And as always, a fight ensues. And what happens is, let's see, I got it right here. Peter gets there and he sees that everyone's turning into he doesn't know it's a symbiote yet, but everyone's turning all black, kind of like how he is and whatnot. And he takes on, right here, because I'm always prepared for this stuff. What does he call them?
Now, this take place in continuity or out of continuity?
It is continuity now. All three of them were, three or four of them were all in continuity, but Alistair Smythe gets like a symbiote suit and they fight. So this issue is great so far.
Like classic Peter David, pretty much.
Exactly. The last miniseries was a little boring. It was like an alternate reality type thing, which usually I like, but for the most part, this has been such a great run. Sweet.
I'll definitely check it out because, like I said, my favorite run on Spider-Man is Roger Stern and John Romita's in the '80s. I also love DeFalco and Ron Friend's run. So for me, that's like vintage, sweet spot Spider-Man is the '80s right now. And Peter David.
I could be wrong because it's just the atmosphere in the book. There's cars from the '80s, clothes from the '80s and whatnot. So it's right up there.
Awesome.
You guys love that.
So check out Symbiotic Spider-Man, issue 1, King of Black. I guess I don't know what it's just part by one of the satellites of the King of Black event that's happening right now, pretty much. Laying the seeds for some untold seeds have been laid in the Marvel universe.
Yeah. This would be something great if they brought back Untold Tales of Spider-Man. Especially if we know what think might happen in Amazing, where Miles takes over. You can have a book like that take place in the past where you're still getting the Peter Parker, especially all you old school Spider-Man fans that don't want Peter to change. They want him to be, still taking pictures and.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about you, Steve. You can accept he changes a little bit, but there's people down there that are like, no, he has to stay like this. And
I know. I've been on the Twitter.com. I know the Spider fandom. The next book
I can't praise this book enough. So
speaking of controversy with former Spider-Man writers, we're going to talk about Fantastic Four number 26 by your boy Dan Slott and artist RB Silva, who RB Silva right now, I'm going to tell you right now, is a revelation on this book. The only thing I've seen him on before was I think it was the Dawn of X or House of 10, whatever it was, the X-Men event. He does a lot of covers for Marvel, but oh my God, is his artwork beautiful in this book. We saw it the last issue.
I saw someone on Facebook about it. The artwork looked really great.
Artwork is really good. Honestly, I mean, Slott's Fantastic Four run has been kind of like, a lot more cold than hot for me. The same thing with the Iron Man run. I think the Iron Man run was a little lackluster. There were parts that I liked. There were some good concepts, but just like usual, he can't execute them properly.
He just left a bad taste in my mouth with what he did with Spider-Man.
Oh yeah,
I can't read anybody's stuff anymore.
A lot of people, but and you know what? I would agree with you. I would have totally written off Slott if I had not read his Fantastic Four, his Silver Surfer series, which with Mike Allred, which is probably one of the most beautiful comics I've read in like a decade. I love that book, and I'm a big Mike Allred fan anyway, and a Silver Surfer fan. But anyway, so issue 26, we talked about last issue, issue 25, the issue where Dan Slott aped my costume designs for his new Fantastic Four. But we basically, at the end of that issue, there's this thing called the Forever Gate that gets opened up pretty much. And it's this gate that they don't understand right now that can basically has access to any reality, any time, any possible existence in the universe pretty much, which is this infinite exploration gate pretty much for the Fantastic Four. They can't close it right now because the being that they opened it doesn't they didn't know who he was, where he's from, so it's kind of they don't know what they're doing. Even Reed, he's still studying it. So basically the issue starts off actually with Man-Thing, where we're seeing where all these gates are opening up through the Marvel universe pretty much, and there's one in the Nexus swamp where Man-Thing is, and of course they do that whole thing whoever feels the touch of the Man-Thing gets burned or whatever and stuff, and they have Johnny Storm and his new girlfriend Sky, who he met I think she was Doom's no, she wasn't Doom, she was from the whole what was that crossover they just did with the Empire. He met her, and apparently she thinks that Johnny Storm is her destined partner, her betrothed, whatever. So they're kind of trying to make this whole relationship work out, whatever. And so they're in there, and the Man-Thing shows up, and Johnny Storm's he goes I mean, I guess we'll get out of your hair, he goes, and he talks to his girlfriend Sky and says seeing him's like seeing Bigfoot, I mean, not a lot of people see him, so, and she's like, this is no big deal to me, I see creatures all the time from space, blah blah blah. So we cut to a press conference where Sue and Reed are talking to the press, saying just so you know, we're the Fantastic Four. This is our job to discover new things and and take care of it. So we're gonna be monitoring this thing. We don't know how to close it right now, but we're on the job right now. We're 24/7. There's gonna be somebody from the Fantastic Four, the Future Foundation, monitoring this thing. And Reed kind of does this whole mad scientist thing at the end. He's even though there's the things we could discover and the things who knows what we can achieve right now, and Sue's all right, honey, come on.
Whenever Reed invents something or finds something, this is what goes through his head every single time.
He starts doing his Rick Sanchez pretty much. He's let's think of the possibilities. They take off, they go back to the Baxter building or whatever it is they're kind of reforming, and Valerie comes out and decides that she's figured out how to navigate through the Forever portal, the Forever Gate, pretty much, and she goes to this guy from another character from Empire, which I had to go back and read Empire right now because apparently a bunch of stuff happened that I'm not really familiar with.
I'll tell you, it just seemed like it was a snooze fest in space, basically.
I heard, but if I'm gonna get into this book, I guess there's a lot of setup in there.
Yeah.
Apparently, this guy that Valerie's really jonesing for, that she goes there because she thinks she's he invited her for this big date thing. Then all of a sudden, there's a bunch of chicks there from other planets and stuff like that, and she's like, "Oh, who are these people? I thought you wanted somebody who you love to come down here." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I love you. I love this person. That's not how it works on your planet." And she comes home and she's all pissed off. She's like, "Men suck, blah blah blah." And and she goes to Franklin, who's kind of all bummed out because he lost his powers, something like that, saying
he's not a mutant anymore, right, or something like that.
Yeah, that's the big controversy we'll get into in a second. Pretty much, and I guess this is a universe that Franklin created during their time at the Secret Wars. So she's like, "Can't you go there and just smite them, like whatever, like that?" Because she's all pissed off at the guy, he goes, "Yeah, maybe I'll work on that." And he goes, and so he finds that he takes Valerie's thing, and he's planning on going back to Kuroka. So he can be with the mutants and stuff like that. And before he can access the portal, Professor Xavier immediately shows up and is like, listen, like you can't go to, you're not a mutant anymore. You can't go to the place. And he's like, oh, well, I am a mutant. I just like, my powers are kind of tapped out. And he's like, no, if it turns out you were never a mutant, he goes, you have these like, godlike powers, and like you've kind of like manipulated your own DNA, and like you force yourself to like, make yourself seem as though you're a mutant, even though you never were. So that's like a big retcon, I guess, pretty much for Franklin Richards, who at this time who's always been like a mutant in the comics right now. Which right now, if you go on Twitter, Dan Slott is having a fucking meltdown right now because people are really there's people who, if you're an X-Men fan, like mutant, the whole mutant allegory can be anything. It can be like, like civil rights. It can be like, sexual identity. It can be like, that kind of thing. And a lot of people like, especially like trans people are kind of who identify with mutants are kind of like, oh, so you're just kind of making it seem like, being trans is a choice, or being like the choice, something like we just kind of like pretend we are because it's chic. And then like, and so Dan Slott's like, listen, like, I'm not gonna really get into the whole controversy thing, but needless to say, Dan Slott, it's very akin to when he killed Peter Parker, Superior Spider-Man. So he's dealing with a lot of that bullshit right now, which I'm sure it should be fun for him because he doesn't have a president to complain to anymore on Twitter. So now he can go back to bitching at fans. So anyway, that happens in the comic. Also, what's her name? That's Lila from Lilia, I think, the Skrull from the Fantastic Four. Johnny's ex-wife shows up. And that leads into a humorous moment, basically, where Sky's like, how many like women have you been betrothed to? And Johnny just starts going through all the list of all the people he's ever been with, and the girl Sky's like, I don't know if we can make this work, like, whatever. And he's like, come on, like, it's like, and we also have a little quick little side adventure with Ben Grimm and Alicia with their two kids. They have two adopted kids, which is pretty funny. They're kind of like it's this is such a nice little fun adventure where they're being Skrulls and they're being Kree, and it's pretty good. We end the issue basically pretty much where something comes out of the portal while Johnny's supposed to be watching the portal, but of course he's like going over his all the notches on his belt with his girlfriend as far as his past relationships go, and lo and behold, who comes out of the portal is what's her name, the Griever from the first issue of Dan Slott's Fantastic Four issue, with the lady who was basically following the Fantastic Four as they were creating universes and realities and just destroying them one by one. So she's back. The only person who could have stopped her was Franklin Richards, who stopped her initially, but now he's depowered, and we're going to see where that goes from there. Honestly, I mean, my issues with Slott aside, I do think he handles cosmic stuff very well. I think he's a decent writer. As far on this book, like I said, it's been a little hot and cold as far as the art goes, but the art really sells this book a lot. I've enjoyed this book as much since probably Wade and Mike Rangel left. I love reading Fantastic Four, but I have to have the right creative team. I can't have somebody just going through the motions and just like write on the book because they need to publish a Fantastic Four book, pretty much. But with this team right now, Slott has a lot of good ideas, as long as he can execute them properly. But this book was a lot of fun. And again, RB Silva, great choice. I hope he stays on. I hope he can meet the deadlines. But yeah, Fantastic Four number 26. Check it out, definitely. And so Mike, we're gonna get to the white meat.
We're gonna get into Amazing Spider-Man 53. I'll put that up there for you fine folks to see.
Who does that cover, by the way? It can't be Ramita, because he does DC now.
No, it's like similar to Ramos. It doesn't really say because it opens right up to. But
it's definitely. I don't think it's Gleason. It's a lot more like. I mean, then again, maybe it is. Gleason has a couple of really offbeat covers that he did.
Yeah, it's Gleason.
Is it really? Okay, he's a very versatile artist, I guess. Let's get right into him, Mike.
The solicitations on this book said that this was supposed to be Spider-Man's bloodiest battle yet, but there was no battle in this whatsoever.
I maybe got mixed up with the last issue, I think.
Yeah, I think someone just got screwed up when they were soliciting it, and it was like, oh, it's this or the preview, whatever. There was no battle going on. The two biggest takeaways from this is that, one, we get reveals who he is at the end of who Kindred is at the end of this issue, and this starts off with Peter being dead still. Actually, that two of them. We'll find out what happened with Peter. It opens up with Kindred going to Liz Allen or Liz Osborn, whatever her name is, and his Harry Osborn's son. And then it goes to Peter waking up exactly in Amazing Spider-Man 546, I believe.
Last issue of the original numbering, right? Oh, no. Yeah. The last issue of JMS. Basically the last issue, One More Day.
The first issue of Brand New Day was Amazing Spider-Man 546.
Well, the last issue of after he makes a deal with Mephisto, he then wakes up, and then you have that Joe Quesada art where
it's probably 545, maybe.
And that part's called Brand New Day. That's where Peter wakes up, and he's the people forgetting Spider-Man, and May's still alive.
Yeah, so it goes right to that issue. He's walking around that New York. Flash Thompson's alive in his dream world. Oh, well, it's a dream world. Kind of spoiler alert. That's what reviews are. So it begs the question: are they going back? It seems like they really are digging deep and going back to pre-Brand New Day Spidey, which is going to make us happy. At least the continuity wise, it's going that way.
But yeah, okay. I'll wait for you to kind of finish your whole thing in the book. And I get between this and issue 52 LR, I think it's called.
Yeah,
I think I'll get into it once you're.
Yeah, because that somebody commented that on one of our videos when we got what the preview issue, the spoiler alert issue.
Yeah.
We did. And then Kindred brings Peter back to life, which he was never really dead. It must have been an illusion or whatever it was. If it's demon, demigotic powers that Kindred has. So basically this whole time Peter's dreaming all this.
Yep.
Or he's making him see that. I think this was 546 though, the Brand New Day issue that this is referring to.
We all know what issue it is. We just don't know the number.
Yeah.
Bagley does a pretty good Joe Quesada impression here when he's doing that whole scene at the party scene with Harry. It looks very much how Quesada drew Harry Osborn and all the characters in that issue. Hats off to Bagley in this issue.
Yeah. The only thing with Bagley when he's drawing in the Osborns, it's hard to tell who Norman is and who Harry is.
It's hard to tell who anybody is because all his women and they all kind of look the same pretty much.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's a solid. I'm not going to knock Bagley. He paid his dues, and
he's still my favorite artist. So I'm not going to really bash him, but then Kindred. Oh shit, my drink. I'm all over the place. Kindred brings Peter back to life, or woke him up from his dream state, whatever he was in.
Yep.
And at the end of this, it gets revealed that it's Harry Osborn.
Which I think we already knew that pretty much.
But which Harry Osborn is it?
Well, okay. First of all, I'll get the one thing. First of all, I don't like how the Kindred costume is a costume and a mask. I don't. Yeah. I thought I liked it better when I thought he was a more decomposed human being or a demon from hell. But I guess when you think about it, that's more akin to Spider-Man. My takeaway from this, and I don't have all the pieces together, so I can't really come up with like a full-on hypothesis for what I think is going on between the last page of the LR issue and this issue right now. I'm guessing maybe Peter never made a deal with Mephisto, and Mephisto was Harry Osborn the entire time, disguised as Mephisto. Yeah. At that time when this happened, we had Mysterio who has connections to Kindred or Harry Osborn at this point. Peter David was writing that book at the time, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, I think it was called. And there was a Mysterio who was a demon from hell, who had demonic powers from hell. And this is around the same time that One More Day happened, where Harry Osborn is either he never died or he did die and he's from hell. And Mysterio.
Also too, sorry to interrupt, it would make sense that Harry would survive having that heart attack because Norman also survived basically getting struck in the heart.
Yeah. Well, they originally it was established that Harry Osborn never died. The Harry Osborn only died because it was a different goblin formula. It was an experimental formula that wasn't the same that Norman used.
Yeah.
See, now I don't. Now we're kind of getting to the situation now where did Harry Osborn ever die? or did he die and he's back to life? So we'll kind of find out as we go along. The last issue of LR, which we see Doctor Strange going into another reality. We see in the background, we see signs of Never Forget, which were callbacks to 9/11, other things like that. So it kind of seems like it takes place around that time, around the time One More Day happened, around 2003, 2004, fresh after 9/11, something like that. So, and we see Mary Jane, who has these yellow glowing eyes and red hair, and it's very similar to how Mysterio was drawn in One More Day. Not Mysterio, Mephisto was drawn in One More Day. So we're kind of, is there a separate reality that kind of broke off after they made the deal with Mephisto? So what's going on? So right now it's kind of like all my theories are kind of up in the air right now because there's a lot of stuff going on right now, a lot of moving pieces.
Because I also thought, what if that redhead lady is either Mary Jane or Julia Carpenter, or if you remember back at the end of
well, Julia Carpenter's with them.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't know if maybe it was a sign that she was manipulating everything at the same time.
Or their unborn daughter, pretty much.
Yeah, so I don't know if you remember at the end of Omit, what was it, Omit or whatever it was, where they
One More Day, yeah.
And they made a deal with Mephisto, whoever that might be. You had the little girl saying that was supposed to be their daughter saying, "Oh, if you
I'm what could have been.
Yeah, I'll never be born, or this is what you'll be missing out on." So, I remember her having red hair.
Maybe that's a theory too. One thing I think now the Harry Osborn that came back in One More Day, I think that's what this was explaining in this issue pretty much. Yeah. Was the Harry Osborn that was in Brand New Day Kindred has been that Harry Osborn the entire time. Which I mean, kind of like we're in a spot now where it's like, how do you explain stories like American Son and the things that happen with Menace and that kind of thing, so it's like, what kind of long game are you playing right now, where you pretended to be this weakling Harry Osborn, or just to keep up appearances? There's a lot of, again, Nick Spencer is playing a lot of like cleanup after Dan Slott's run, pretty much. So I mean, I'm curious to see how this is going to pan out. I have faith in Nick Spencer as a writer, so I mean, he's a pretty smart guy. Pretty sharp tack, so I'm hoping he kind of make it make sense and worthwhile. I mean, we've been waiting for this for a while to kind of be.
And his Amazing Spider-Man stories haven't been terrible. They've been actually they've been really good, and it's the best Spider-Man's been in years.
It's really good. It's a lot of wasted time.
The only criticism was that I guess it was worth the wait now, as we said in the previous podcast, but it was dragged out, the whole Kindred storyline.
There's a lot of wasted Nick Spencer on issues where he has to fix things that Dan Slott did, or he has to deal with the crossovers going on because Donny Cates the hot writer right now.
Yeah.
Or whatever that I forget that Thor one was called, Realm something, whatever Realms like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm curious. I mean, and honestly, in the comments, guys, I'd love to see you guys' theories right now, because honestly, I haven't had enough time to kind of marinate the whole thing around right now. A lot of things. I mean, the Harry Osborn thing obviously is something I think was pretty obvious from the get-go. For a while now, for at least a year now, since the Absolute Carnage crossover, I think I kind of realized it was Harry Osborn. But as far as how this is all going to kind of work itself out to make sense, I have no idea anymore. There's a lot of moving pieces right now,
and I hope that whatever form this takes, we talked about how you kind of like Harry Osborn to be the new Osborn, the new Goblin, so to speak. I've been watching a lot of Smallville lately. Just getting back into it. I always love that show. I would always love to see Harry Osborn be like the Lex Luthor, how he was, and Norman Osborn be the Lionel Luthor.
Yeah, I can
eventually kill Norman Osborn off and make Harry be the premier Green Goblin.
At first, I was gonna say I don't think Harry Osborn's smart enough, but then now I think about I guess that's a good comparison. How Michael Rosenberg, that's his name. That type of Harry Osborn thing, where he's driven by proving himself to his father and that kind of thing. I mean, I don't know. You know what? I mean, no matter how confusing this is and how frustrating it is right now, it's great to be excited about Spider-Man right now.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I mean, it's been a while since I've been excited about the book. And honestly, like I've said many times on the episodes, after One More Day, I kind of lost my investment in Peter Parker as far as the character goes. And it seemed like everything that happened has been a what if. But if they're gonna retcon the whole Mephisto thing, or even just keep the Mephisto thing, but make it not what you thought it was, where it wasn't this whole like like take back, then I'm on board again. I mean, and I'm all in. Spider-Man is my favorite Marvel character.
Yeah,
and honestly, I mean, like I'm pretty excited. I am excited about Spider-Man in a while, and I think that's a big takeaway. But
and
honestly,
me too. I'm so hoping that some way, shape, or form it goes back to pre-Brand New Day.
Yeah.
Not the whole Peter Parker having his identity revealed to the world. That
no, I know.
I didn't really like that part of the New Avengers run and all that stuff, or Civil War stuff. But yeah, I love Peter Parker and Mary Jane being married. I wouldn't even be against her being pregnant again or somehow having the kid again. I wouldn't be against that. And
I have a storyline. Yeah, like I said before, I mean, I don't know about you, but like as a kid being a Spider-Man fan, I would just like daydream all the time about all these storylines of Spider-Man that I would do in my head. If I were given like, hey Steve, do you want to write Spider-Man for like 5 years? And I'm like, oh, would I? And, and I had so many storylines. I have a story how to bring the kid back, and also how to move Spider-Man the character forward as far as other pieces like Miles Morales and all these Ben Reilly and all these guys. But that's something for another day. But again, guys, please put in the comments, put your theories in there. I'd love to hear them. I'm really excited to talk. It's good to talk about Spider-Man again. I can talk about Spider-Man all day long. And honestly, we're not going to announce anything right now. That's something that's coming in our future. We might be talking about Spider-Man all day long. And I'm not going to say anything else because, maybe for Christmas, maybe Santa Claus will bring an announcement. I don't know.
Yeah. You took the right drive. I'm glad you said that first. I might have just went full. This is what we're doing over there. or whatnot. And
so don't worry. It's the present's in the attic. It's wrapped. No peeking, guys. That's gonna do it for this episode, guys. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe, and go into the back catalog and check out all the videos. There's tons of fun stuff. As far as like especially trust me, there's tons of Spider-Man stuff in there. Come check it out, guys. And we'll be back. And we'll be back again next Thursday.
Subscribe. I'm looking at you, 300 viewers that you watched our last episode at. I'm looking at you.
Yeah, don't be casual. Like don't be that person. It's good to commit to something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't go loosey goosey. But anyway, guys, that's about it for this. We'll be back next Thursday with more comic books. Hopefully, we'll have Patrick.
Well, Thursday's Thanksgiving, so maybe Wednesday we'll be around.
Oh, Wednesday, yeah, it's true, yeah. Don't worry, we'll give you something to talk about. We'll give you something to talk about. And that's gonna do it for us, guys. We'll see you next time.
All right, see you guys.
Bye. Oh, there's the record button. Oh, did I record? Yes, I did.
You did. I see recording up here.
All right, we're good to go. Bye, guys.
Yes.